episode 19, I think. Hopefully 19. Might be 20. I think it's 19. Okay, we've got 6 shelves, so I'm going to try to go through these, not dwelling on everything. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
Well,
I'm going to try and pull out specific things.
this will be something to
And
see.
you can pull out specific things too, I guess.
Yeah.
So S begins with Samsara, which is a visual documentary poem kind of thing.
I have to apologise for my ice.
Okay, ice,
Cheating.
the gin and tonic with orange, lucky.
So refreshing.
So there was a film called Baraka, which was like filmed across, it says on the back, 25 countries across 5 continents in super 70mm. So it was like an amazing visual documentary to go and see at the cinema. And then they made a sequel called Samsara. This is Samsara. I'd like Baraka as well. This is one of the most amazing looking things on Blu-ray on a big TV I've ever seen.
Okay.
It's incredible. Then is Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
A favourite Spielberg. Love it. It's not in any way perfect. In fact, a lot of it's terrible because it shouldn't really have a story. It should just be about World War II, then it'll be better. It's my review of Saving Private Ryan. Scarecrow. And you saw this. This was the first film I watched this year. I looked back over my list of things I've watched this year. This is Gene Hackman and Al Pacino as a couple of drifters. 1973. It's bloody great.
I really don't know Gene Hackman's body of work.
Well, let's get the conversation out.
Yeah.
This
There's
is-
something about him that I just.
I'm not a huge fan of him,
Yeah.
but he's in a lot of really good films.
Yeah.
This is great.
It looks fun.
Surprised me how good it was. Then is another Spielberg, The Schindler's List. 4K, crisply beautiful black and white. Not a regular watch, but an important film.
Mm-hmm.
And amazing that came out the same year as Jurassic Park. It's not a bad couple of films to make in a year.
No.
Then Screams 1 to 4.
Okay. Why is the box set?
Because it was a box set of Scream, and then Scream 4 came out after the box set existed.
Oh, that must have annoyed you.
Not massively. I only bought Scream 4 recently because I was going to watch all 4 of them again. I saw this at the cinema. I didn't really like it, Scream 4. But lots of people believe it to be one of the better ones, so I wanted to give it a revisit. But I couldn't really give it a revisit without watching the other 3.
Well, you could.
I couldn't. I have a very fond memory of seeing Scream in 1990, whenever it came out. 6?
Is this you not going into detail?
Yeah. At the Hyde Park Cinema in Leeds, which, shout out to the Hyde Park Cinema in Leeds, is a wonderful little velvet-seated independent. It's amazing.
One day, Benny.
One day. Scrooged.
Classic.
Enough said. Senna.
I haven't seen
Why
that.
has Ben got a motor racing documentary in his collection? He hates motor racing because it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, and it made me not like motor racing, but be interested in it for 2 hours.
Can I make a request that you don't refer to yourself in the third person ever
Yes,
again?
Ben won't do that anymore. Senna's great. Same director as Amy and
Yes.
Diego Maradona.
I know.
Asif Kapadia, very good documentary maker. Serpico, 70s cop classic. Pacino at his most hirsute. It's a great film.
Yeah.
We keep meaning to watch that, don't we? You haven't seen it.
Yeah. I haven't seen the other Serpico either.
There isn't another Serpico.
What's that thing?
Sicario.
Oh, yeah.
Every time. Then another of my favourites that we've mentioned many a times on
Yeah.
here, 7.
Yeah.
Still the most I've ever jumped out of my seat in the cinema ever, at the point where the shot gets fired down the corridor when they're trying to find the
Oh.
apartment. I've never jumped like it.
I did in Paranormal
Activity.
Activity.
Yeah.
When the thing comes up to the screen.
At the end,
Yeah.
the last shot.
Ooh.
It's a good one, isn't it? Then is one of the best films ever made, The Seven Samurai. Lovely American Criterion edition. Criterion do Akira Kurosawa films very well. with lovely documentaries and books and stuff. This is one of the greatest things that exists that you can look at. 3 hours 27 minutes, yet it feels like it's about an hour and a half long because it's the greatest adventure film. Amazing. John Cassavetes' The Shadows. So this is the first film John Cassavetes made. It's first feature film. It's a groundbreakingly independent thing. 1959. Up until then, nobody really had made films with their own cameras and production teams unless they were like artists making art films. Cassavetes decided he was going to make a film on the streets of New York with jazz musicians and non-professional actors and stuff. It's rough and ready, but it got released in cinemas and it kind of changed Hollywood totally because people realised you could do it yourself. It's great. Gritty.
I forgot how cold ice is.
Oh, we haven't had any for 6 weeks.
Can't hold that glass.
Then The Shawshank Redemption. It's still in the DVD box, but it's the Blu-ray now because the box is nice. It's nicer than a little Blu-ray package. Can't really go wrong with Shawshank Redemption, can you?
No.
I don't think it's not my favourite like it's a lot of people's favourite, but it's great. There's The Shining.
That is your favourite.
This is my favourite. Nothing can be... This is a perfect film for me. As long as it's... I listed it, didn't I? As long as it's not the extended edition.
Right.
Unfortunately, the 4K Blu-ray is the extended edition.
Why'd you get it then?
Because I wanted it in 4K. It's still great with the extra bits in. I just don't... They don't need... They shouldn't be there.
Do you have the non?
Yeah, it's in there as a Blu-ray.
Oh.
Then is an incredible thing, Showa. So Showa is a, however long it is, 9 hours documentary about the Holocaust that has zero archive footage. It's all just people who were there being interviewed in locations where stuff happened. And part of the reason it's so long is because the guy that made the documentary, Claude Landsman, he didn't want the language barrier to be there. So if you've got somebody who's Israeli speaking to somebody who's French, there's an English translator in the room and a French translator, and so like the French person asks the question, it gets translated into
Why are you
Israeli.
breaking this down into such detail?
Because it's a weird way to make a film. It's like you hear every sentence 3 times, but it's really mesmerising and devastating.
Okay.
It's quite a thing. I'm trying to show that at the cinema as well, but getting a licence for it's pretty hard. Then comes Shock Corridor, Sam Fuller's Shock Corridor, which is very interesting. I hadn't seen this until last year either. So this is 1963, and it's a film about a Pulitzer Prize reporter who's trying to crack a murder, and in order to do it, he commits himself to a mental hospital where he thinks that people who know who the murderer is.
Oh, I caught some of this when you watched it.
It's one of those.
Good.
It's one of those things where it's like, once you're in there, how do you get out?
Yeah,
Because-
that's been copied
Yeah,
loads of times, hasn't it?
it's excellent. Then next to that, the other end of the spectrum, Showgirls, Paul Verhoeven's Showgirls.
Great.
Looney, and we keep getting requests to do a screening of this with a Q&A, so we're going to do it once we get back open again.
Who's doing the Q&A?
A chap who's written about Showgirls, written a book about it.
Okay.
Then comes Scorsese's Shutter Island. Well, considered by many to be a lower level Scorsese, but it's a
I
great
enjoyed
thriller.
it.
It's a
Yeah.
really good thriller, and it still feels like Scorsese.
Yeah.
It's just more towards his commercial end, I guess. But yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Sideways.
No more fucking Merlot.
No fucking Merlot. It's an excellent film. It's a wonderful film. It's, you know, when we talked about Last Detail having a terrible cover with Jack Nicholson sort of airbrushed
Oh,
and
yeah.
topless. Look at those faces.
Yeah.
The
Very.
Sideways cover is
That's like-
weird.
What was it, like early 90s airbrushing?
Yeah, it's terrible.
They look like eggs. Painted eggs.
It's hideous, isn't it? Then M. Night Shyamalan's Signs.
Creepy.
which I think after 7 probably has one of the other moments where I jumped the most in the cinema. The bit on the home video from Mexico.
Yeah.
The kids' party.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Another Scorsese, Silence. Only from a couple of years ago, bombed at the box office. It's amazing.
It's about monks.
It's 2 Jesuit priests who go to Japan to try to find their mentor who's gone missing. There's a previous version of it from the 70s, which is in the unwatched pile, called Silence 2.
I didn't know it was
not
a
called
remake.
Silence 2. So it's based on a book from 1966 that Scorsese wanted to make from, I believe Robert De Niro gave him a copy of the book while they were making Raging Bull.
Oh.
So it took him 37 years to make it.
Is that Liam Neeson?
It's Liam Neeson and it's Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield. It's beautiful. Spoiled by one scene, but the rest of it's amazing. And it's not CGI cats. Next is the lovely Criterion edition of The Silence of the Lambs.
Looks like a book.
A wonderful film, is it not? And I had to get the American one because it's got all the special stuff with it.
Great film.
It's just phenomenal. It's another of those ones where it's on telly all the time, and every time it's on, you suddenly realise you've just watched it again.
Yeah.
Cracking. Then Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yay.
This year's Christmas horror. Screened as part of our Christmas lineup. Then is Silent Running. So Silent Running is directed by Douglas Trumbull, who did the special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And he then made a science fiction film, which is very prescient these days. It's about a man on a little spaceship travelling out into space with the last remaining trees in a kind of astrodome thing.
Yeah.
It's great. Singing in the Rain. I'm not a musical fan.
No.
I like Singing in the Rain, though. I think I like Singing in the Rain, though, because it's just the most musical, isn't it?
Do you remember when we put it on in the pageant room?
Yeah, it's one of the worst events we've ever put on.
No one came. 2 people came.
Terrible. Then is Brian De Palma's film Sisters. Been having a Brian De Palma thing this week. And
It's
last
Margot.
week. Yeah, I watched 3 early Brian De Palmas with Robert De Niro this week that kind of aren't very Brian De Palma-y. I like Brian De Palma when he goes all carry split screens and stuff. So Sisters is Margot Kidder as twins.
She can do no wrong.
Psycho twins.
I think that's a fun watch.
Yeah. Sixth Sense.
That should... Sisters should be a double bill with the one where Carl McLaughlin's 2 doctors, 2 brothers. What's that film?
Dead Ringers.
Yeah.
Not Carl McLaughlin.
Who is
It's
it?
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons.
David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers. Yeah, they'd make a great double bill. Body horror, nasty 70s. Well, yeah, 70s, 80s. I love Sixth Sense.
Yeah, you
Doesn't spoil it that you know what's going to happen. I had it spoiled before I went to see it at the cinema, and I still was surprised when it happened, even though I knew what was going to
do. It's great.
Next to that is Sleep Furiously DVD.
Yeah.
That again we did a screening of at the Pavilion. It was quite hard to license, but it was nice to get it. So that's a documentary about a little farming community in mid Wales. The soundtrack by Aphex Twin. Can't go wrong.
Lovely.
Then is one of my favourite films of the 21st century.
You haven't even opened that, have you?
Yeah.
Oh.
David Fincher's The Social Network.
You love that film, don't
Absolutely adore it.
you? You love the twins in it.
The Winklevi.
Mm.
Yeah. It's just wonderful. It's because I think it's the script. It's an Aaron Sorkin script, and it's just all delivered at super high speed and intensity.
Yeah.
And I was reading a thing about it yesterday. Jesse Eisenberg said it was the hardest role he's ever had to play.
Really?
Because he'd spent all of his life trying not to be like that, because he's a bit OCD and jibba jabba jibba jabba jibba jabba, and he spent his entire life trying to speak at normal speed and be a normal human, and then he had to do it as a role, and he found it really difficult.
Oh,
But it's amazing.
that's interesting.
It's got great things about it. Justin
Yeah.
Timberlake.
I feel like you're missing out a lot of films with sleeping in the title.
What would they be?
Sleeping with the Enemy.
It wouldn't be something I'd have on Blu-ray. Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah. Sleepers.
Yeah, Sleepers is great, isn't it? Next to The Social Network is another Tarkovsky. So we've had Ivan's Childhood. We've got Solaris, the original Solaris. Science fiction masterpiece.
That was redone recently, wasn't
There
it?
was a Steven Soderbergh one about 15 years ago with Clooney.
The Science of Sleep.
It's great. Solaris is an amazing science fiction film. Incredible. And next to Solaris is Some Like It Hot. Funniest film of all time?
Well, it's not aged well, has
No,
it?
it's not aged well from a gender politics perspective, or gender representation, or gender mocking perspective, I guess.
Well, yeah, it just feeds into
Yes.
stereotypes and it makes me uncomfortable now.
As uncomfortable as Mickey Rooney's Chinese neighbour in...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Next to that is Somewhere, Sofia Coppola's film, which I think most people who love Sofia Coppola think is the worst thing she's ever done.
Yeah.
I loved it. Seen this?
No.
Stephen Dorff as a super rich celebrity, and Dakota Fanning as his little daughter. It's great. Not as good as this though. It's not as good as Sorcerer. William Friedkin's remake of Wages of Fear. The plot of this being a bunch of reprobates have to transport a load of TNT through the jungle. High tension.
Oh, you've told me about this.
Yes.
Why is it called Sorcerer?
I'm not 100% sure. Don't know, but it's great. I mean, William Friedkin in the 70s, he didn't do much, he didn't take many steps wrong. French Connection, The Exorcist, this. It's a pretty great, he was a super duper director. Next to Sorcerer is Source Code. So we had Moon earlier from Duncan Jones, David Bowie's son.
Yeah.
This is also from Duncan Jones.
Oh.
Tremendous time loop
There was
movie.
such a spat of those films coming out at that time.
Oh, that look like this. The cover
Yeah.
looks very generic. This is very good. Very clever. Very well done. Next, Spartacus. I am Spartacus.
I am Spartacus.
Probably my least favourite Stanley Kubrick. It's good as an epic, but it doesn't feel like Kubrick. It's not. It was Kubrick for hire, so it's like...
Well, because it was really Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, I think so.
He was executive producer. He pumped loads of money into it.
Kubrick was just pushing the cameras around.
Yeah.
It's not Kubrickian. Following Spartacus, we have the best Spider-Man film of all of them.
Do you know what? I haven't seen a single one.
Well, you should. The only one you should really watch is Into the Spider-Verse.
Don't care to.
Why?
Because I like the cartoon.
This is a cartoon.
Right. Well, maybe I'll give it a go then.
This is brilliant.
But you know, all these Spider-Man films. I think why?
Well,
It's
yeah.
not a very good. All
But-
he can do is swing around.
No, he can do a lot
He
of things.
can't really do much else.
He can do a lot of things. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is good because the whole point of it is that there are Spider-Mans in different universes. And they all end up coming to... There's all different kinds of
Oh, I
Spider-Man.
can't be bothered with people
Including
always coming together.
Spider-Ham, who's a pig.
How does this stuff get green lit?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Part 2 is coming soon.
That's
It's the
because
most
of the
well-loved.
Spider Pig from
Yeah.
The Simpsons.
I would have thought so. Next, I need to upgrade this to the Blu-ray, is Fritz Lang's Spione, The Spies,
Yeah.
which is a brilliant, silent espionage thriller.
Looks hard going.
It's amazing. Next to that is one of the other perfect films, Spirit of the Beehive.
Yeah, you bang on about that a lot as well.
You sound negative.
It's a fact.
Yeah, it is true. This is the Spanish Blu-ray, which has no subtitles, and I don't speak Spanish, so I had to. Yet I haven't done my Spanish Duolingo yet. I had to rip it from this and make some subtitles.
What?
But yeah, it's good. It's brilliant. Next to that, Spring Breakers.
What the heck is that?
Harmony Korine's absolutely insane film about spring break.
That looks silly.
Neon Pussy Riot-esque spring break with who's this? He's now shamed, but James Franco in his best role as a grill-toothed gangster with cornrows. He's incredible.
I hate everything about that.
Yeah, but I think most people hated it. I found it incredible.
You're a mystery wrapped in enigma, aren't you?
Yeah. Squid and the Whale, next. Noah Baumbach's The Squid and the Whale.
It's a very good film
It's excellent, isn't it?
like the children going through parental divorce.
I like, if it's Wes Anderson, it's Greta Gerwig or Noah Baumbach, I'm in.
Yeah.
Next is the second Tarkovsky science fiction film of the S's, which is Stalker. So we screened this recently, and it was beautiful to see it up on the big screen. Stalker is about a kind of... It's made in 1979, but it's a kind of Chernobyl-esque wilderness full of ruined buildings and stuff. And 3 men who go on a mission to try and find a zone in the middle of it that will give them special magical things. But it's all about psychology and their journey, really, rather than magic. It's amazing. Stand By Me comes next.
Enough said.
Watched it in the garden the other night, and I had to upgrade it to the 4K because the 4K's got deleted scenes on that have never been seen before.
We didn't see any deleted.
We haven't watched them yet.
Oh.
Then comes Stoker. So Stoker was Park Chan-wook's first English language film.
Nicole Kidman.
So Park Chan-wook, what do we know of Park Chan-wook? Old Boy and The
I'm glad
Handmaiden.
there's not a test section on this.
There will be at the very end.
Takeshi
Miike.
Miti.
So Park Chan-wook is the before Bong Joon-ho turned up on the scene. Park Chan-wook was like the go-to South Korean director that people in the West knew about.
I think you need to plot this out on a
That would be a
visual.
web.
Yeah.
That'd be a tangled web, wouldn't it?
A mind map. I think that's what we need.
So Stoker's interesting. I bought this recently. I saw it at the cinema. It's not the best of his films, but it's interesting. So I bought it the other day so I could have another watch. It's got a really good creepy atmosphere.
When's it from?
About 2013, 14?
It's
Maybe.
mad the difference in Nicole Kidman's face.
Well, she's got a face there, hasn't she? You can imagine her maybe giggling and then that turning into anger instantly. Her face is like a large sailing vessel these days, isn't it? It takes an hour to change its direction.
It's a shame.
Then we've got 2 copies, because the DVD's got different things on, of La Strada, Fellini's La Strada, which is a good place to start with Fellini if you haven't seen any of them. So this is a story about a woman who falls in love with a circus strongman and goes on the road with him in the circus. It's great. Straw Dogs. The highly controversial Straw Dogs.
Oof.
Seen that?
Tough watch.
It's tough, isn't it? But it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's very
It's a
good.
heist film. Not
Yeah.
a heist film, a siege film. One of my favourite types of films.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's very good. Not one that you could plop on for a relaxing Sunday afternoon, I guess. But then they don't all have to be, do they?
No.
We've got Stand By Me and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for that. After La Strada, Sunrise, which again, we had this booked and then it snowed. No, it was a really bad storm, so we cancelled it, but we're going to put it on again at some point. So Sunrise is F.W. Murnau that did Nosferatu. This is a film that he made in America post his German silent films, and it's a story about a man who's married, and he falls in love with another woman, and he comes unstuck. This is a bit like Citizen Kane and Metropolis, and what are they called? Magnificent Ambersons. It doesn't feel like it's old. If it's got shots in it that are just the things people. You can imagine somebody making a film now and doing some of these shots, and people go, "Wow, that's incredible," and then you go, "Oh, that was done in 1927."
Okay.
Stuff you. Nothing's new. This is amazing. Next to that is Sunset Boulevard.
Alright.
Can't go wrong with that, can you?
No.
Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard. Billy Wilder has forged his way into my collection of films that I didn't really know much about Billy Wilder, and then he's become more and more important to me.
He was prolific, wasn't he?
Very wonderful films. Next to that is Danny Boyle's Sunshine. Great modern science fiction. See that?
No, I've never even heard of it.
You're going to want to watch it now. You've been watching Peaky Blinders and you've fallen for, what's his face?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. So Cillian Murphy's the
What?
member of the crew of a ship travelling to the sun. It's great.
Oh, it's always the same thing there, isn't it?
But is it always the same thing?
Pretty much.
Then J.J. Abrams made a Spielberg film, and he called it Super 8.
Yeah.
Mainly wonderful for the children in it. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like engineered nostalgia, though,
Yeah,
isn't
it is. Yeah, well, it's pre Stranger Things engineered nostalgia, isn't it?
It's the springboard for Stranger Things,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But it's got a level beyond Stranger Things for me. Of that group of kids has got a really good group of kids chemistry in this.
I think the kids in Stranger Things are really good.
This is bad now though. And that scene where they audition Dakota Fanning and she does the really incredible acting and they're all like welling up. They have to look cool. Is amazing. Next is the Superman collection. So that's the first. Oh, actually, it's got Superman Returns in it as well. So that's Superman the movie, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, and Superman Returns. So
Feels like there were always it was always, throughout our childhoods there was a Superman film playing.
well, we had Superman 1 and 2 on the telly all the time,
Yeah.
and then Superman 3 came out
Mm.
and gave me nightmares when I went to see it in Brighton.
Is that where she gets?
the robot?
Yeah.
So I had sunstroke, and I was in bed for 2 days, and then my mum took me as a special treat to see Superman 3, and I think I still had sunstroke because that bit, bad Superman and the robot woman really upset me.
Sensitive.
And I find it quite difficult to watch. What I really love about Superman 3, let's go into Superman 3. We're not going to talk about all these, but let's talk about Superman 3. So who's in Superman 3? Richard Pryor is in Superman 3.
Yeah.
And why is Richard Pryor in Superman 3?
It was a low point.
I know. So Richard Pryor went on some form of Saturday night, like Jay Leno type American show. Somebody will probably say in the comments what it was. And they asked him what role would he his favourite thing, what would his best ever role be? And he said, obviously because it's Richard Pryor and it was the middle of the 80s and civil rights was still an issue, he said, tongue in cheek, I'd like to play Superman. And the producers went, shit, he's big bucks, we should do a Superman film with Richard Pryor in it. But they couldn't do Richard Pryor as Superman because that would have been a little bit too progressive for the 80s. So they wrote a Richard Pryor comedy that happened to have Superman in it. And that's Superman 3.
Oh.
Because he was the bigger sell than Superman. And he is amazing in it.
Oh yeah, he is.
Superman 4, on the other hand, I saw at the cinema when it came out. And I haven't, 1987, I was 10. I haven't seen it since. And I don't know that I ever want to see it again, because even as a 10-year-old, I thought it was terrible. But it's got Gene Hackman in it.
Oh, I know that one.
So it's like it's back to what was
Oh.
in Superman 1 and 2. So 1 and 2's got Lex Luthor in. Gene Hackman was Lex Luthor. And then he comes back in the fourth one. Was he in the third one as well? No, he's
Yeah.
not in the third one.
I thought.
He's not in the third
thought
one. That's
Richard-
Robert Vaughn's the bad guy in the one.
Oh.
And then
They all merge into one.
Superman. Well, Superman 2 is the best one. Superman 2 is the one with the 3 bad guys in black. General Zod. And there's a really good Superman 2 director's cut. That's how Superman 2 was supposed to be, because it was filmed back to back with Superman 1. And then it got delayed and they tweaked it about, but it was really good before. Superman. Next, Dario Argento's Suspiria.
You love this one.
Yeah, and I really like the remake as well. For totally different viewing. I don't think it should have been a remake of Suspiria, but it's great. Yeah. I should have bought the 4K version of this. It's now really expensive, but this one's good too. And then last in the S's is a lovely little film that I bang on about all the time too as well, which is Sweet Bean.
Yeah.
This probably goes in the perfect category as well. I've only seen it once, so I need to see it again to see if it's perfect. But I think it was on first viewing. So this is a film about a man who runs a street food shop, making those little Japanese, like the little mashed sweet balls of mashed up beans. What's that called, that stuff? The bean paste. Sweet bean paste. And he's really struggling because no one seems to be buying them. And a little old, he puts an advert out for somebody to come and help him in the shop, and this little old lady turns up. And he's ageist, and he's like, oh, I've never worked in there. It's ridiculous, she's old. And she brings him, she keeps trying to get the job there, and then she brings him some sweet bean paste that she's made, and it's the best sweet bean paste in the world, and he's never tasted anything like it. So he overcomes his ageism and takes her on. It's wonderful. That's only the start, that isn't the whole plot, but it's great. Absolutely brilliant. It's truly beautiful. I'm getting quite emotional. So that's the S's.
Thanks, Ben. Right, what 3 are you going to take
Well,
with
it's
you?
impossible because look how many we've had, and it's got many of my favourites. I've got to take The Shining because it's the greatest film in my life.
Yeah.
I think I'll take Shining, I'll take The Social Network, and I'll take Stand By Me.
Nice.
What would you take from that massive array of films?
Sideways, because it always cheers me up.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Bean, to see all the fuss is about. And The Shining.
Can't go wrong, can you?
No.
Okay. Any questions today?
No ancillary questions today.
Oh, is that because I've banged on for too long?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm almost in a coma.
I don't think anyone had made any comments that we need to respond to, apart from that I was called out on. You were never really here because
Or there, we don't know.
it's here. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't play a taxi driver. The reason I had that in my head is because when we screened Holam, Gholam, 2 years ago, there were loads of reviews of You Were Never Here that said it's the taxi driver for the 21st century, and actually Holam was the taxi driver for the 21st century, but nobody saw it. So I did a film note that had the comparison between the three, and that each of them had a shot of the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror of a car at night. But
Okay,
Holam was about a taxi driver.
good one. Good to
So that's
sort
where
that
that
out.
came from.
Okay.
And that's it, I guess. So we've got tea tomorrow. There's 4 shelves of teas. Not too bad.
Time for another gin.
Lucky you. Okay.
Time for another G and T.
Yes. So we'll say goodbye. We're going to go and have a nice cold beer and a gin tonic.
Farewell.
Adieu.
Alvida saying goodbye.
It doesn't make sense.
But it's just loads of ways of saying goodbye.
Yeah, but they're not in the right order.
What order do you want them to be in?
Well, I'd sing so long, farewell. I'll see you in a spell. Keep it in one language. Makes sense.
Oh my god.
Right. Goodbye.
Bye.